At the beginning of the 9th century, the Balkans became the scene of fierce confrontation between Bulgaria and Byzantium. The Bulgarian Khanate, strengthened by the reforms of Krum, challenged the powerful Byzantine Empire, and their struggle became an important part of Balkan history. It was a time of great battles and bold strategies, where every move by both sides determined the future of the entire region. The Byzantine emperors sought to maintain control over the Balkans, while Bulgaria asserted its place on the political stage. Let me remind you, you're on the Amazing History channel, a channel for those who truly love history. Before I continue, please don't forget to support the channel through sponsorship on YouTube or Patreon. By the way, a big thank you to those who are already doing this. We would also appreciate your likes, subscriptions, and of course, your kind comments. Let's get to the topic of this episode. In one of the previous episodes about Volga, Bulgaria, I talked about how some of the Bulgars, under pressure from the Khazars, were forced to leave their lands between the Don and Volga rivers, and led by Asparuk, migrated to the Danube. There they founded the First Bulgarian Empire, which came very close to the borders of Byzantium. This state became a new power in the Balkans and contributed to the formation of a common political and cultural identity of the Bulgars. Almost immediately, both states began to fight each other. However, this did not prevent the Bulgars from playing a decisive role in the defense of Constantinople against the Umayyad Caliphate in the years 717 to 718. This was a battle that changed the history of Europe, and the intervention of Khan Tervel as an ally of Byzantium gave the Bulgarian state a level of international recognition, elevating it to the rank of a recognized European power. In this new political entity, original Bulgar traditions were mixed, and Byzantine influence, which led to the emergence of both an elite class of nomadic warriors and a long-established bureaucratic structure capable of governing the settled population. After the siege of Constantinople, a temporary calm was established in the relations between Byzantium and Bulgaria. However, the Byzantine emperors still considered the Bulgarian kingdom a serious threat to their influence in the Balkans and looked for ways to control it. In 741, Constantine V came to power, who quickly proved himself to be a brilliant military leader. Taking advantage of the civil wars within the caliphate, the new emperor invaded Syria and reconquered Cyprus, relocating the Christian population to Afrakia to strengthen his power there. In 757, a truce was concluded between Constantine V and the newly formed Abbasid Caliphate, which allowed the emperor to focus his attention on the Balkans to fight against the Bulgarian Khans. The timing for the attack was chosen perfectly. The Bulgarian kingdom was undermined by internal strife that began in 753 after the death of Sevar, the last Khan from the ruling Dulo dynasty. To prevent its strengthening, Constantine V initiated a series of military campaigns on Bulgarian territories. He also tried to establish contacts with the Slavs. Constantine worked with the Slavic tribes inside Bulgaria to provoke internal strife. Despite numerous invasions, Byzantium failed to weaken Bulgaria. The Bulgarian Khans skillfully defended themselves and often counterattacked. In 775, during his 9th campaign, the restless emperor died of fever, which eased the pressure of Byzantium on the Bulgars. Constantine V was succeeded by Levtov Khazar. He supported the territory of Riga, who lost the throne as a result of a coup led by Kardam. At this moment, the balance of power between the Byzantine Empire and Bulgaria shifted again, as Kardam began to strengthen and build up his power. Meanwhile, Lev IV died in 780, leaving the throne in the hands of his 9-year-old son, Constantine VI, and his mother, Empress Irina. Under these rulers, internal strife in the empire led to difficulties and purges of competent military officers who opposed Byzantium. At the same time, the Abbasid Caliphate resumed its offensive. The culmination of the Muslim raids on the empire's territory came in the year 780, when the future Caliph Harun al-Rashid led a massive offensive into Asia Minor, reaching the very suburbs of Constantinople itself. Irene did not have the strength to continue the war and agreed to make peace, under which Byzantium was obliged to pay tribute to the Caliph. These defeats and Irina's status as a female ruler led to military unrest and a conspiracy aimed at her overthrow. In 802, a group of conspirators led by Nicephor, who was something like a finance minister, overthrew Irina and sent her into exile. After ascending to the throne, Emperor Nicephor I, Genic, began a campaign to strengthen Byzantine control over the Slavic tribes in western Thrace, Macedonia, and Greece. The subjugation of these groups strengthened the position of Byzantium both militarily and financially. Meanwhile, significant changes were happening in Bulgaria. In 803, the new Khan became Krum, a talented and ambitious leader. He immediately set about expanding the borders of Bulgaria, and he directed his efforts toward conquering the weakened Avar Khaganate. In this campaign, Bulgaria acted independently from Charlemagne, who was simultaneously attacking the Avars from the west. The Avar Khaganate fell quickly, and as a result of this campaign, Bulgaria expanded its territories to the northwest, doubling in size and becoming a serious power in the region. In 807, Nicephor decided to launch a preemptive strike against Bulgaria to weaken its growing power. However, this campaign quickly fizzled out due to uprisings by the Anatolian Themes, who were dissatisfied with the emperor's decision to ignore the Abbasid raids on the eastern territories of Byzantium. While Nikephoros was dealing with internal problems, Krum decided to counterattack. After receiving information that a 12,000-strong Byzantine army had gathered in the Struma River Valley to receive their pay, the Bulgarians launched a sudden attack. They destroyed the Byzantine detachment and captured about 500 kilograms of gold. The troubles of Nicephor I did not end there. In 809, Khan Krum captured the fortress of Serdica, which is modern-day Sofia, an important stronghold of Byzantium in the northwest of the Balkans. After promising safety to the inhabitants of the fortress, Krum still carried out a massacre. He destroyed the 6,000-strong Byzantine garrison and a significant number of civilians. Meanwhile, the death of Caliph Harun al-Ararashi. Ararashi's death in 809 led to a power struggle between his sons, which temporarily weakened the Abbasid pressure on the eastern borders of Byzantium. This allowed Nicephor to focus on the confrontation with Bulgaria. In May 811, Nicephor gathered a large army and marched north to the border fortress of Markella, where additional military units joined him. His army included warriors not only from Thrace but also from Asia Minor. In addition, according to the chronicler Theophan, Nikephoros' army included many poor people armed with slings and sticks. When he learned about the size of the imperial army, Krum proposed peace negotiations, but Nicephor rejected his offer, being confident of his victory. Nikephoros' goal was the Bulgarian capital, Pliska, which he set out to capture and plunder. As the Byzantines approached, the civilians left the capital, seeking refuge in the surrounding hills, and Krum, realizing his forces were insufficient, retreated to the mountainous areas, leaving a garrison of 12,000 men for the defense. However, Nikephoros' troops stormed Pliska, destroyed the garrison, plundered the city, and devastated its surroundings. According to chroniclers, the Byzantine soldiers burned crops, killed livestock, and massacred civilians. Krum, enraged by the destruction, once again offered Nicephor a safe retreat from Bulgaria with the captured spoils if he agreed to peace. But Nicephor, seeking the complete destruction of Bulgaria, refused again. After capturing and plundering Pliska, Emperor Nicephor continued the campaign on Bulgarian territory, hoping to finally break the Bulgarian resistance. During this campaign, his army suffered from a lack of discipline. The advance was slow, and the days spent looting for water drained the soldiers' morale. More and more people broke ranks to loot or simply deserted. The prolonged siege of Pliska and the subsequent slow march of the Byzantine army gave Krum precious time to win. He managed to organize a militia, calling upon all Bulgarian men, as well as Mucian Slavs and Avars, capable of bearing arms. But even with such reinforcements, Krum understood that his army still would not be able to defeat the Byzantines in open battle. The only hope for revenge would be to catch them in the mountain passes. Krum decided to use the strategy of a surprise attack. He built wooden fortifications and traps in the Erbish Gorge, knowing that this narrow place would limit the maneuverability and numerical advantage of the Byzantines. Meanwhile, Nikephoros, pleased with his victories, continued to move north and ravage Bulgarian lands. On July 25, 1811, his vanguard entered the narrow pass. Their way was blocked by a fortified wooden palisade, which Nikephoros considered a means to prevent entry, not exit. But when Bulgarian warriors were spotted on the surrounding heights, he ordered a halt to discuss further actions with his commanders. Since the terrain did not allow the full concentration of the army, the troops had to set up several separate camps along the gorge. The emperor's camp could be recognized by its size and the brightly colored tents and banners. The Bulgarian infantry was positioned on the heights on both sides of the road leading through the pass, as well as on the mountain slopes. Krum decided that the moment had come and gave the signal to attack. At dawn on July 26, a mass of Bulgar, Slavic and Avar warriors from Krum's main assault force descended upon Nikephoros' camp. The plan was simple: destroy the elite formations and their commanders. And it worked. During the brutal slaughter, Nikephoros himself and many of his commanders were killed. The survivors decided to flee. Most of the army turned toward the river, where many drowned, unable to find a crossing. Another part of the army tried to break through the ditch and the wall, but they were killed. Only a few managed to escape. Nikephoros' body was also found. Krum ordered his skull to be made into a silver-plated goblet, from which he drank at feasts. This victory became a turning point in Bulgarian-Byzantine relations, securing Bulgaria's independence and establishing Krum as one of the most successful Bulgarian rulers. Now the Bulgarians wanted to march against Byzantium, which meant that their confrontation was far from over, the end. If you want to see more about the Byzantine-Bulgarian wars, let me know in the comments. Well, that's all from me. See you.